The courtroom fell silent as Dr. Adrian Mercer's voice cut through the tension with chilling confidence. "I'm not apologizing to anyone. Do you know who I am?" Judge Frank Caprio didn't react immediately. Instead, he performed a ritual those familiar with his courtroom had come to recognize. The deliberate setting down of his pen, the careful removal of his reading glasses, the methodical folding of the frames, and finally, their placement on the bench before him. Each movement was purposeful, a silent announcement that something significant was about to unfold. When Caprio finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of measured authority. "I know exactly who you are, Doctor. The question is whether you understand what that should mean." At the defense table, Dr. Mercer stood with arms crossed, his posture radiating defiance. At 38 years old, he was a respected cardiologist with privileges at 3 major hospitals. He was accustomed to deference, to having doors opened and obstacles removed. In his world, problems disappeared with a phone call, and inconveniences were handled by others. "I'm a physician," Mercer said, his tone suggesting this should end all discussion. "I save lives. This is beneath me." Judge Caprio leaned forward slightly, his calm demeanor unchanged. "Saving lives doesn't exempt you from respecting them." The simple statement landed with unexpected force. The courtroom, already quiet, seemed to hold its breath. Caprio continued, his voice steady and clear. "You're here because you blocked an accessibility ramp, because you verbally intimidated a police officer, because you destroyed a citation, because you ignored 3 summons notices, and because you walked into this courtroom believing your credentials made you immune to accountability." Mercer's expression remained unchanged, but his attorney, Dana Chu, placed a cautionary hand on his arm. Court Clerk Miss Reyes rose to her feet, her voice formal and precise. "Case number 2025-TR5529, State versus Dr. Adrian Mercer. 4 counts. Blocking an accessibility ramp in violation of ADA regulations, verbal intimidation of a peace officer, destruction of a lawful citation, and failure to appear for 3 scheduled hearings." She turned a page in her file. Administrative note: the defendant received a prior advisory 11 months ago for improper parking in the hospital emergency lane. A warning was issued by hospital security and forwarded to municipal traffic enforcement. Dana Chu stood immediately, her tone practiced and efficient. "Your Honor, Dr. Mercer acknowledges the parking infraction. He's prepared to pay all fines and costs today. He's a practicing cardiologist with an exemplary professional record. This was a lapse in judgment during a high-stress period. We respectfully request immediate resolution." Caprio's gaze remained fixed on Dr. Mercer, not his attorney. "Is that how you see this? As something you pay for and forget?" Mercer shrugged dismissively. "That's what fines are for." "Fines," Caprio said slowly, investing each word with significance, "are consequences. This court is not a payment portal." He opened the file before him. "Tell me what happened on October 21st. Mercer sighed, his impatience evident. "I was on call. I parked near the pharmacy. I had a prescription to pick up. I was there for less than 10 minutes. "You parked on an accessibility ramp." "I was barely blocking anything." "Barely," Caprio repeated. "So you were blocking it." "Emergencies don't wait for parking." "You weren't responding to an emergency. You were picking up a prescription." "I'm always on call," Mercer countered. "That means I'm always potentially responding to an emergency." Caprio leaned back slightly. "Credentials don't authorize inconvenience, especially to those already vulnerable." He turned to Miss Reyes. "Is there a statement from the complainant?" Miss Reyes opened a folder and read aloud. "Written statement from Mrs. Lillian Carver, age 76, submitted October 22nd. Quote, I use a mobility scooter. I was trying to enter the pharmacy. The ramp was blocked by a car. I couldn't reach the entrance. I waited in pain for 17 minutes. When the driver finally came out, I asked him to please be more careful. He said I should have used the other entrance. There is no other accessible entrance." End quote. The silence that followed was profound. Caprio looked directly at Dr. Mercer. "Is that accurate?" Mercer hesitated for the first time. "I don't remember exactly what I said." "You don't remember?" Caprio's tone sharpened slightly. "Or you don't want to repeat it?" "I may have suggested an alternative." "There was no alternative." Mercer offered no response. "Officer Malone, please approach," Caprio said. Officer Henry Malone, a professional in his early 50s, stepped forward and took the witness stand. After being sworn in, he opened a small notebook. "At approximately 3:37 p.m., I responded to a complaint about a vehicle blocking the accessibility ramp at Riverside Pharmacy. When I arrived, I observed a black sedan parked diagonally across the ramp. An elderly woman in a mobility scooter was waiting near the curb. She appeared distressed." Malone turned a page. "I approached the vehicle as the defendant exited the pharmacy. I informed him that his vehicle was blocking an ADA-compliant access ramp. He stated he was only there for a few minutes. I explained that any duration constitutes a violation. I began issuing a citation." He paused before continuing. "The defendant said, and I'm quoting from my notes, 'Write your little ticket. I save lives while you write numbers.'" The courtroom remained utterly still. I informed him that verbal intimidation of an officer is a separate offense. He took the citation from my hand, tore it in half, and dropped the pieces on the ground. He then said, "Send the fine to the hospital. They'll handle it like they always do." Caprio leaned forward. "Did you feel intimidated?" Malone hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. Not physically, but professionally. He made it clear he believed I couldn't hold him accountable." "Is Officer Malone's account accurate?" Caprio asked Dr. Mercer. Mercer's jaw tightened. "He's exaggerating." "Is he lying?" "He's making it sound worse than it was." "Did you tear the citation?" Mercer remained silent. "Is there video evidence?" Caprio asked Malone. "Yes, Your Honor. Pharmacy parking lot security camera and body cam audio." Caprio nodded to Miss Reyes. "Play it." The courtroom screen flickered to life. The timestamp read 15:37:19. Security footage showed a black sedan parked across a painted accessibility ramp. A woman in a mobility scooter waited near the curb. The footage then switched to body cam audio. "Sir, your vehicle is blocking an accessibility ramp." "I was only here for a few minutes." "Any duration is a violation. I need to issue a citation." "Write your little ticket." "I save lives while you write numbers." The sound of tearing paper followed. "Sir, destruction of a citation is a criminal offense." "Send the fine to the hospital. They'll handle it like they always do." The audio ended. The courtroom remained silent. Caprio looked at Dr. Mercer. "Still think Officer Malone is exaggerating?" Mercer stared at the table, offering no response. "Are there any communications on record regarding this case?" Caprio asked. Miss Reyes opened another folder. "Yes, Your Honor. The court received one voicemail and 2 emails from the legal office of Providence General Hospital within 40 minutes of the citation being issued." Caprio's expression sharpened. 40 minutes. What was the content? The voicemail, left at 4:03 p.m., requested case details and suggested the matter could be resolved administratively. The first email, sent at 4:14 p.m., offered to coordinate direct payment to avoid court proceedings. The second email, sent at 4:29 p.m., was from the hospital's public relations office requesting a quiet resolution and referencing Dr. Mercer's professional standing. Dana Chu stood quickly. "Your Honor, Dr. Yair, Mercer did not authorize those communications." "Did he tell the hospital what happened?" Caprio asked. Chu hesitated. He may have mentioned it to a colleague. He may have, Caprio said evenly. Or he called the hospital legal office immediately, and they mobilized to bury this before it became public. He turned to Miss Reyes. Read the second email into the record. Miss Reyes cleared her throat. To Providence Municipal Court. We represent Providence General Hospital. We understand a citation was issued this afternoon involving one of our senior attending physicians. Given Dr. Mercer's critical role in cardiac care and his professional reputation, we respectfully request a private resolution. We are prepared to ensure all fines and costs are covered promptly. Please contact us directly to discuss. Caprio looked at Dr. Mercer. Attempts at pressure still enter the record. Is Mrs. Carver available? Caprio asked. Yes, Your Honor, by phone. Put her on speaker. A moment later, a voice came through the courtroom audio system. It was soft and patient, worn by years but steady, with quiet dignity. This is Lillian Carver. Mrs. Carver, Caprio said gently, thank you for being available. Can you tell the court what happened on October 21st? There was a pause before she spoke. I was going to the pharmacy to pick up my medication. I use a mobility scooter. The ramp was blocked by a car. I couldn't get to the entrance. I waited. I thought maybe someone was just dropping something off, but he didn't come out for a long time. She paused. My hip was hurting. Standing, even sitting in the scooter for that long, makes the pain worse. When he finally came out, I asked him to please be more careful. He said I should have used the other entrance. I told him there wasn't another accessible entrance. He said that wasn't his problem. Her voice didn't waver, but something beneath it fractured. I don't take orders from retirees. That's what he said. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Mrs. Carver, Caprio said softly. Do you wish harm on Dr. Mercer? No, she said immediately. I just want respect. I worked for 43 years. I raised 3 children. I paid my taxes. I deserve to be able to enter a pharmacy without waiting in pain because someone couldn't be bothered to park correctly, Caprio nodded slowly. Thank you, Mrs. Carver. You've earned more respect than you received that day. This court will make sure of it. Thank you. Your Honor. The line clicked off. Caprio turned back to Dr. Mercer. Do you have anything to say to Mrs. Carver? Mercer's voice was flat, mechanical. I didn't mean to inconvenience her. You didn't mean to, Caprio said. But you did. And when she asked for consideration, you dismissed her. Mercer shifted in his seat, his voice rising slightly. I save lives every day. I perform surgeries. I treat heart attacks. I don't have time to worry about parking. You had time, Caprio countered, to pick up a prescription. You had time to argue with an officer. You had time to call the hospital legal office. You had time for everything except basic decency. Mercer's expression hardened. Do you know what I make in an hour? More than your fine. You make that before lunch? Yes. Caprio was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter than before. Let me tell you something about Officer Malone. 14 years ago, he was working a night shift. He responded to a medical emergency at a restaurant. A man had collapsed. Heart attack. Officer Malone performed CPR until paramedics arrived. That man survived. He went on to live another decade. He saw his grandchildren grow up. Mercer's face paled. That man's name was Robert Mercer, your father. The room froze. Officer Malone saved your father's life, Caprio continued. And you mocked him. You tore up his citation. You told him he writes numbers while you save lives. But the only reason you had a father at your medical school graduation was because Officer Malone saved him. Mercer's voice was barely audible. So what? He's a parking officer now. 5 seconds passed. 7, 10, 12. That was how long it took for arrogance to collapse. Caprio opened the case file and read silently for a moment before beginning. Here's what the evidence shows. Security footage confirms the defendant's vehicle blocking an ADA-compliant access ramp for 19 minutes. Bodycam audio confirms verbal intimidation of a peace officer. Physical evidence confirms destruction of a lawful citation. Court records confirm 3 ignored summons notices. Communication logs confirm attempts to influence proceedings through institutional pressure. Victim testimony confirms dismissive conduct and disregard for vulnerable populations. He closed the file. The standard fine for these violations is $780. I'm imposing $10,000. $8,000 of that is stayed. Conditional. Dana Chu's face went white. Your Honor, Caprio raised a hand. Dr. Mercer will complete 120 hours of community service with Providence Community Health Outreach. He will not delegate this. He will not send money. He will show up. He will assist elderly and disabled patients. He will learn what it means to serve people who can't pay him. Mercer's hands gripped the edge of the table. He will write personal apology letters to Mrs. Carver and Officer Malone. Handwritten, no attorneys. His words. Caprio turned a page. He will produce 3 public service announcements titled Medical Ethics and Public Humility. They will be reviewed by this court before release. They will air on local television. His name and credentials will be attached. His voice remained firm. He will complete a patient care empathy module, 8 weeks. He will attend every session. He will submit a final reflection essay, 1,000 words, titled Credentials Are Not Immunity. Caprio leaned forward. All of this will be completed within 16 weeks. Documentation will be submitted every 2 weeks. Any missed deadline, any incomplete work, any attempt to have someone else complete it on his behalf, the $8,000 fine becomes due immediately, and I will impose the maximum penalties allowed by law. He paused. Medicine heals bodies. Humility heals harm. Mercer's voice cracked. I understand. Do you? I'll do it. We'll see. 16 weeks passed in service logs, handwritten drafts, and slow, careful transformation. Week 2, Dr. Mercer reported to Providence Community Health Outreach. His supervisor, a nurse named Elena, assigned him to patient intake. He filled forms, took vitals, and listened to complaints about wait times, insurance, and pain. He wrote in his log, I forgot what it's like to wait. Week 3. He submitted his first apology letter to Mrs. Carver. It was returned with a note from the court. Too clinical, too detached. Write like you're human. Week 4. He attended his first empathy module session. The facilitator asked, What does vulnerability mean? Mercer wrote, I don't know. Week 6. He met a patient named Grace, an 82-year-old woman with diabetes and limited mobility. She told him, I wait 3 hours to see a doctor who spends 3 minutes with me. Mercer wrote in his log, I never thought about the waiting. Week 8. He submitted his second apology letter to Mrs. Carver. This time, it was shorter, more honest. It said, I treated you like you were in my way. You weren't. I was. I'm sorry. Mrs. Carver wrote back, Thank you. I hope you mean it. Week 9. He recorded his first PSA. It was rejected. The note said, Too defensive, too self-serving. Try again without the excuses. Week 10. Officer Malone visited the outreach center. He watched Mercer help an elderly man into a wheelchair. Afterward, Malone said quietly, You listened. That's new. Week 12. Mercer recorded his final PSA. He looked at the camera and said, I blocked an accessibility ramp because I thought my time was more important than someone else's dignity. I was wrong. Credentials don't excuse cruelty. Week 14. He submitted his reflection essay. He wrote, I spent my career learning to save lives, but I never learned to honor them. I thought being a doctor made me important. It doesn't. It makes me responsible. For every patient, for every person, for every moment I have the privilege to serve. Week 16. Dr. Adrian Mercer returned to court. He stood alone. No attorney beside him. No hospital representatives in the gallery. Caprio looked at him. "Speak." Mercer took a breath. "I completed everything you asked. 120 hours, both letters, all 3 PSAs, every session. I met Mrs. Carver, Officer Malone, Elena, Grace, and so many others. They taught me things medical school never touched." His voice was steady now, but quieter. "I walked in here thinking my credentials made me exempt. They didn't. They made me accountable. Titles don't excuse cruelty. They demand humility." He paused. "I can't undo what I did to Mrs. Carver or Officer Malone, but I can make sure I never treat anyone that way again." Caprio was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "The stayed fine is remitted. You owe $2,000, payable today." Mercer nodded. "You've met the terms. That doesn't erase the harm. It means you've started to understand. The real test isn't what you did here. It's what you do every day for the rest of your career." Caprio leaned forward. "Your expertise saves lives. Your humility will save you." Mercer's eyes filled. "Thank you, Your Honor." Caprio's voice softened. "Don't thank me. Thank Officer Malone. He saved your father, and he gave you a second chance." 4 months later, Providence General Hospital implemented a medical contact firewall. No legal or public relations staff could contact municipal courts regarding employee citations without prior ethics review. 3 attempts were documented in the first quarter. All were declined. The hospital added a mandatory ethics training module. All attending physicians completed it within 90 days. The module included a case study titled "Credentials Are Not Immunity." Elderly access enforcement was strengthened citywide. ADA violations received escalated penalties. Repeat offenders faced mandatory community service. Mrs. Lillian Carver received a formal apology from the hospital. The letter included a personal note from Dr. Mercer. She framed it. Officer Henry Malone received a commendation. The ceremony was small. Dr. Mercer attended. He didn't speak. He stood in the back and clapped. Dr. Adrian Mercer continued volunteering. He didn't publicize it. He didn't add it to his CV. He simply showed up. Every Saturday, he listened. He learned names. He sat with patients who had nowhere else to go. Judge Caprio kept a note card on his desk, handwritten. It said, "Credentials without humility become a hazard." He looked at it every morning before court began. Dr. Mercer walked into that courtroom with credentials. He walked out with character.